Here's the deal. The Wizards announced they're sending John Wall and a future first-round pick to the Rockets for who? Russell Westbrook. It's a deal that both players wanted and had been simmering for weeks, according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. This pick sent to Houston, along with Wall, is a lottery-protected 2023 selection. Woj reporting that. Stephen A. Smith, bigger deal. Tell me, is it Wall to Houston or is it Russ to Washington?
Well, I think it's Russ to Washington. That's how I'm feeling about it right now. When I think about Russell Westbrook, listen, the difference in skill set. Russell Westbrook is tenacious, so is John Wall. Russell Westbrook sits a little better from the field, not as good from three-point range, but they both have a locomotive. They go at 100 miles per hour. And that mentality that Russell Westbrook has, that dog in him where he is fiery all the time, going 100 miles per hour, backs down to no one. Not that John Wall isn't like that either, because he is to a degree, just not as demonstrative with it as Russell Westbrook is. I'm here to tell you right now, Chocolate City, the people that I know, I got a lot of loved ones there. They are going to love Russell Westbrook's attitude being in the Verizon Center. I'm here to tell you that right now. It's going to be something special with him and Bradley Beal, because unlike James Harden, who dribbles a lot before he wreaks havoc, Bradley Beal doesn't need to dribble that much in order to be the marksman that he is. And this is a brother that just finished averaging 30 for the season, because I love me some Bradley Beal, even though some people that I know who will remain nameless ain't that high on him. They know who they are. But in the end, I am. And I'm telling you right now, I think it's a plus for them. But for me, the reason why it's also a plus is because even though I believe in John Wall and I know he can ball, I just don't see how this keeps James Harden wanting to stay in Houston, which is why I'm at a loss as to why Houston would do this deal, other than the fact that they tried to get rid of Russ. And, according to sources, a lot of folks they didn't want Russ because Russ can be fiery and very strong-willed and strong-headed. And because of that, basketball operations, folks may not have wanted to deal with him. So the Houston Rockets might have felt they got the best deal they could. I just don't see how this helps them more than, the skill set. Russell Westbrook and James Harden didn't want to play together, Max. We all know that. But I don't see how John Wall, who's very similar to Russell Westbrook, helps James Harden want to stay in Houston. That's my only reticence about this for Houston.
Well, clearly the Wizards won this deal. And you want to know how the teams without GMs like Daryl Morey live? Like this. What is Houston signaling here? They're getting a first-round pick back. Like, if you want to know who's the better player, obviously Westbrook. He's 2 years older, but he's not coming off a catastrophic injury. He always plays with everything he's got and has been a greater player at his best than John Wall, although John Wall's been excellent. Neither one can really shoot. They have certain kind of similarities there. But one team had to include a first-round pick in the deal. And that team was Washington. Houston gets a first-round pick. So what are they really signaling with this? Because keeping James Harden, that's done. That ship has sailed. Harden's out of there. Everyone knows he's going to be traded. So really what Houston is signaling here, what Fertitta is signaling, I think, is, look, we're not going to try and win a championship next 3 years. But after that, we are. So here's something to watch in the meantime. We'll get what we can for Harden. We'll try to accumulate some first-round picks. Don't forget they had to move a lot of them in order to get Westbrook, in order to put the team together originally, and we'll see what we can do. I think it was a big mistake to let go of Daryl Morey. If I had Daryl Morey as a GM and he came into my office and said, I want to go somewhere else, I'd say, let's make this right. Forget about what's happened. Let's make it right. Here's some more money. Here's whatever you need. And I'd have kept Daryl Morey. In terms of Washington, they have arguably the best backcourt in basketball right now. I mean, CP3 and Devin Booker, yeah, I'd take that as number one. So what's this, number two? Because Klay's hurt. Where does this rank in the NBA? Show me a better backcourt. Show me a backcourt you can say is definitively better than Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Neither one is an MVP right now. But you know how I have my star system, 4 an All-Star, 5 an MVP. They're All-Star pluses. Those are 2 4.5s in the backcourt. So, that's just about as good as it gets. And Washington goes from an afterthought, a nothing in the division. When in the beginning of the season, a couple of years ago, you're like, hey, maybe, 2-3 years ago, hey, maybe they can compete at the top of the division because John Wall, maybe he's the best player in the East. Remember those days? Long gone. They're an afterthought. But all of a sudden, Kemba's not going to be available. And Boston's not the same. Hayward's gone, right? And all of a sudden you start looking around the East and you go, oh, wait a minute. Washington, they're not going to come out of the East, but Washington's going to be competitive this year. They're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to make the playoffs and maybe be a tough out. Let's see. They also got that Israeli kid in the draft, that big guard who people thought was going to go higher up. So in terms of where Washington is, they just improved.
I think they improved. I don't think there's any question about it, but I think that to pinpoint and really lock down on Russell Westbrook, let's be very, very clear. First of all, let's give him credit where credit is due, because there was a lot of false reporting out there. You know, him and James Harden don't get along. That couldn't be more false. They're brothers. They're very, very tight with one another. It's just that Russell Westbrook and James Harden didn't necessarily think it was an ideal fit for them to play together, because both of them are ball dominant, and Russell Westbrook doesn't want to sit around spectating watching James Harden do his thing. He wants the ball in his hands. So now we've got to ask that question, whether or not that's something John Wall will be able to tolerate in the event that Fertitta and the Houston Rockets are unable to unload James Harden for the equitable compensation that they're looking for, because we all know he wants to be in Brooklyn. We know Brooklyn's got some of the assets. They got to give it up. And as far as I'm concerned, because of what the Lakers did, they need to have that big three together, because I think that's the only thing that has a chance of derailing the Lakers this season, quite frankly. But when we get back to Russell Westbrook, we have to understand where he is in his career. Russell Westbrook has been in the league for a long time. They went to the finals in 2012 with Scott Brooks as his coach, who's now the coach for the Washington Wizards. So that speaks a lot as well, because obviously he feels he can coach Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is extremely strong-willed. He's very defiant. He's going to do what he believes is correct. He's going to play his game, and he hasn't improved his three-point shooting over the last 4 years. His three-point shooting is a hindrance. Now, with Bradley Beal, that's going to help, and if you got pieces around him, he's going to get them the ball, because I don't think he's nearly as unselfish as people try to claim he is. But I do think that he has to shoot the basketball better from the perimeter in order to be everything, Max, you say they are as a backcourt. I ain't worried about Beal shooting the damn ball. I can tell you that much. I ain't worried about him at all. Russell Westbrook, the one thing I want to see him do is improve his jump shot. I'm not worried about everything else with Russell Westbrook, but I am worried about that.
All right, fair enough. We'll leave it there. You guys might find this interesting. Odds makers actually think the Rockets are better after this trade because they think they have a better shot of keeping Harden now. We will leave it on that note. I got some more news for you, and my ears really perked up when I heard this quote. So coming up here on First Take, Giannis says he would be cool playing on a super team, but under one important condition. We'll tell you what it is. Stephen A., I don't think you'll like it. I think my husband will, though. The Steelers barely hold on to beat the short-handed Ravens. So is it fair for Mike Tomlin to have this reaction?